Okay, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Boiler Room over at Alternate Current Radio. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight out there in the chat. Thank you, chat room members, for getting us connected, and thank you, Stuart, for calling in the one, the only, the famous John McAfee. John, welcome to the Boiler Room.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. I've played clips of you many times on Boiler Room and on Sunday Wire, one of our other shows over here at the station. We're big fans. So we've been sitting here talking about Vault 7 and Wikileaks, and we're getting to the point in the conversation where we're all just kind of throwing our hands up in the air and going, okay, so there is verifiably, we've all been talking about this, well, a lot of us have been talking about this for years, but we're at a point now where we can say verifiably, yes, we have no privacy. Yes, every device we have is listening to us, and these antivirus programs out there probably aren't doing a whole heck of a lot to keep us safe. And another thing that we talk about on the program a lot is false flag attacks, and we were just kind of tossing around the idea of the next generation of false flag attacks being largely cyber-based, and we wanted to get you to weigh in on that. What do you think about that?
Well, first I'd like to say that, I've been saying exactly what you just said for many years, and so I hope that makes me a little less paranoid right now.
Definitely. I think we're all vindicated a little bit.
We're all vindicated a little. Then let me tell you the biggest problem with cyber attack, cyber warfare, the whole cyber espionage world. It is virtually impossible to determine the source of a cyber attack of any kind, unless it's a 15-year-old kid who doesn't know the basic steps necessary to hide his tracks. All of the accusations about Russia hacking the DNC, Russia hacking Yahoo, that's all total nonsense, and I can tell you now. Anyone who is capable of pulling off of a high-profile hack is also capable of hiding their tracks. It's simple. The reason I've been yelling for months now that the Russians did not hack the DNC is very simple. Number one, there was Russian language found in the code. Number two, the compile times matched the business hours of Moscow. And number three, the thing that is most telling is that the program used was a year and a half old. There had been many updates to that program. And indeed, the program did originate with APT28. However, once the program is used, if a program is used in a cyber attack, everybody has a copy. Certainly everybody in the cybersecurity community and everybody on the dark web. And so anybody can download these programs for just a few dollars and start playing with them. If it were indeed the Russian state, you must assume that the Russians are at least as capable as the CIA, if not more so. Are they going to be so foolish as to use a program that's a year and a half old, where there have been many updates to fix bugs in it? Are they going to leave the Russian language? Are they going to leave the compile times? Absolutely not. This is absurd. So more than likely, this is yet one more 15, 16-year-old kid who was challenged by one of his hacking buddies. Let's see if you can hack the DNC. And he said, okay, I'll show you. Seriously. And for the CIA, the FBI, and other government agencies to say it was the Russians shows either an astonishing lack of sophistication or a motivation based on politics. One of the two. So you pick. I have no clue. But I can promise you it was not the Russians. Any hack that looks like it was done by someone else, those tracks were purposely put in there to hide the real source. And again, now it is possible that the CIA, the FBI, somebody has agents within these hacking organizations that are giving them firsthand knowledge. I find that highly unlikely. But barring that, there's simply no way to ever determine the source of a hack unless it's an extremely unsophisticated hacker. And if you look at the hackers who have been caught, Let's look at some notable ones. The kid that 6 months ago hacked into the FBI, and he was 15, hacked into the FBI, took every record of every undercover agent, including their names, phone numbers, social security numbers, fingerprints, photographs, and addresses, and published them on the dark web. Now, that kid was caught, and the FBI is crowing about the fact, yeah, we caught this kid. Well, duh. I mean, anybody could catch a 15-year-old unsophisticated hacker. Show me how many times you've caught a sophisticated hacker. Has never happened. So I just like to leave you with that, not leave you, but I'd like to put that out there. As if you think about it rationally, none of it makes sense when someone says, yeah, the Russians hacked the DNC, the Russians hacked Yahoo. I'm sorry. That's utter nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense at all. And of course, these intelligence agencies, they all have the ability to put any fingerprint they want using those same exact tactics that you just described. They could take that same digital fingerprint, like you said there, with Moscow IP addresses and business hours. And in Vault 7, we saw that there is a CIA hacking front at the U.S. consulate in Frankfurt,
Frankfurt, yes.
Yeah, and they're supposedly sort of the tip of the spear there for cyber warfare in all of Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. So, I mean,
yes.
So agencies like this, intelligence agencies like this, just as easily could do that same exact sort of tactic and say, okay, look, they inject that fingerprint, that malware with those fingerprints in it, and then boom, they can go. I was saying this earlier in the show. They can go to a FISA court, which is essentially going to just rubber stamp anything without any sort of judicial process whatsoever, and then boom.
Yes.
They can go out, and it's not even like they have to go out and say, okay, now we can wiretap. Everything's already wiretapped. It's just a matter of jacking into those systems, getting the permission to sit down in front of that console and do the searching through that giant data center in Utah or whatever.
You bet. Now, one of the interesting things I found in pouring through that data dump was there were instructions for the agents on how to get into the embassy and into the right area.
Wasn't that classic? I was laughing my ass off when I saw that.
I wanted to actually try that. Of course, I couldn't do it because my face is too well known. I'd have to shave my beard, which I'm not willing to do. In any case, I thought, oh, Jesus Christ, what absurdity that the entire world now knows all the secret codes, which hallway you go into. And travel tips as well. If you're going to Frankfurt, it gives you all the travel tips. How to get through customs. Astonishing. I laughed my ass off over that one.
I did.
I'm sorry to run off on a tangent. I just was, when you mentioned Frankfurt, that came to mind. So
I thought that I had the exact same experience when I read that. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is exactly. I mean, I had the light bulb go off right there. I used to work in federal employment, so I know what those kind of emails look like. When you're going on travel, it's like, okay, here's your point of contact, and here's what you do at this airport. Here's the good rental car place to go to. This is how it actually works. I think Spore has a question for you.
No, I don't. I just wanted to say that we love tangents, so never.
Oh yeah, tangents are always welcome over here.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so. Go ahead. I've got time for one more question. Sir.
Okay, I'll let Funk Soul ask you a question. I know he wanted to fire one off at you.
Hi, John. We were just discussing the authenticity of WikiLeaks and a possible source, as they tend to focus on only specific areas and then not others. We discussed the possibility of Mossad and other particular sources that could be the actual real WikiLeaks front behind certain super objectives. What would your opinion be on that, John? Any hypothesis?
The fact that all the source code was also taken, even though it hasn't been released yet, and the fact that the specific information released was clearly someone on the inside. And as you read these things, I was kind of astonished at the language, the word dude appearing everywhere. So it's clearly someone on the inside, someone young, and someone who had access to every aspect of the CIA's hacking organization, which, if you look at that organization chart, by the way, appears to be the largest organization within the CIA, and over $100 billion has been dumped into it. I don't think Mossad. I think it's simply a dissatisfied, disgruntled, or someone who woke up in the morning and said, "Oh my God, what am I doing?" And then did this thing. That's just my humble opinion.
Another Snowden. I see what you mean.
Yeah, that makes good sense.
I'm going to have to leave you that, gentlemen and ladies.
I just wanted to say one thing before you cut off here, John. We've got people in the chat saying, John McAfee for president. We wish you were in right now. We really appreciate you.
We were pulling for you, man.
Yeah.
Listen, anybody who knows me knows I could not possibly be president. My media baggage is larger than any other human I know. However, running for president gives you a platform upon which you can speak about things that really matter. So, thank you again for having me on. And if you need me another time, give me a call.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. We'll stay in touch, John. Have a good evening.